A little about myself. Um, I have worked for more than 30 years in leading banks in India and overseas. I was a chief manager in the Information Security Department of SBI. I was a assistant vice president in the IT audit department of Axis Bank. I worked in the Middle East. I worked in a bank called Al Raji Bank, which is a very large Islamic bank in Saudi Arabia. I was also head of internal audit of a medium-sized bank overseas. And this is the training experience that I have. I'm a freelance trainer for CISSP and for CISA. I was adjunct faculty of MIS, that is Management Information Systems, at an American university overseas. I've conducted training sessions on information system security and audit at the staff colleges of the banks I worked in. So, uh, right. So now you know a little about myself. And okay. Now, in this introduction, we will cover, these are the topics we'll cover. What is the ISC Squire, International Information System Security Certification Consortium, or ISC Squire? Can you hear me? If you have any difficulty hearing me, please type a message. Can you hear me? Pinaki, can you hear me? Pinaki, if you can hear me, type yes. Okay, great. Okay, so the CISSP certification is offered by ISC Squire, which stands for International Information System Security Certification Consortium. And we will learn about the benefits of the certification, how it will help you in your career, the 8 domains of CISSP and the weight in the certification exam, something about the examination pattern. It's called CAT, or Computerized Adaptive Testing, and some tips on how to prepare for the exam, the certification process, and we'll see a few sample questions so that you have an idea of how the exam works. Okay. So why did ISC Squire come up with CISSP? The reason is earlier, before CISSP came along, there was no uniform security certification. It was by different vendors for their products, or it was for different technologies. So in the mid 1980s, there was a demand for a standardized and vendor neutral information security program which would be accepted across the globe and also across industries. Regardless of which industry you're in, it should be something that should be accepted. So it started with a need from industry. So a group called the SIGCS, or the Special Interest Group for Computer Security, was set up in 1988, and they formed a consortium of professional organizations to create the curriculum. See, if you want to have a standard certification acceptable across industries and geographies, you have to have a standardized curriculum. So that was the plan to set this up. So ultimately, after SIGCS formed the curriculum, in 1989, ISC Squire was formed. And what ISC Squire does today is it administers the certification exams. Eventually, when you appear for this examination, it will be administered by Pearson VUE on behalf of ISC Squire. ISC Squire also maintains the common body of knowledge. The common body of knowledge here means the syllabus or the material on which the exam will be based. ISC Squire, later I'll tell you about the good books you can follow, the several books that are available, which you can follow if you want to prepare for this exam. And ISC Squire itself also publishes a book called The Common Body of Knowledge. And the exams are based on this. But you must remember one thing, this is not like the university exams you have, that there is a book and everything will come out of that book. It doesn't work that way. When we see the different domains in the next few slides, you will realize that it covers all aspects of IT. Every aspect of IT is covered. So in a latest development in IT, maybe you may be asked questions. So don't expect that questions will be confined to 1 or 2 books that you study. There is no single book that gives you full coverage for this. Right. So that is about ISC Squire. Now let's see about CISSP. which, as you know, stands for Certified Information System Security Professional. This was introduced in 1994 and it has now been accepted worldwide as the gold standard for information system security. If you want to find out how widely this is accepted, just go to any job portal in any part of the world, be it in America or Europe or Asia, anywhere in the Gulf, anywhere. Just type CISSP in the search box, and you see for yourself how many matches you get. And this will give you an idea, or you will understand that this is a certification that is accepted all over the world. The ISC Squire, biannually, that is twice a year, they release the member counts. On the last date, that is 31st December 2018, there were 1,31,180 people who living in 171 countries who had acquired this certification. Curiously, the US has the largest number, more than half are in the United States. So this is just to give you an idea of how widely this certification is accepted and recognized. So now, if I were to put myself in your place, the question you would ask is, why on earth should I do CISSP? How is it going to benefit me? The answer is that worldwide, not only in India, but worldwide, there is an acute shortage of qualified information systems security professionals. Here are some of a few offhand, I took some things and put it here. NASSCOM has, for example, predicted that by 2025, there will be a shortage of 1 million information security professionals in India. When Forbes conducted a study to find out which are the areas where there is a skills gap all over the world, the answer they received was cybersecurity. People have said, the top management of IT companies have said that cybersecurity is the one area where we are not getting enough qualified personnel. Similarly, the Enterprise Strategy Group conducted a study and found the same thing. IBM survey is actually much more wide-ranging. They say that India, while NASSCOM predicts a shortage of 1 million, IBM says there is a shortage of 3 million security professionals in India. So this is why it's a good idea for you to consider doing CISSP regardless of which part of the world you're in or which area of IT you're working in. Now, you may also ask, why is security such a serious concern, and why do CEOs of companies say we are just not getting enough qualified information security professionals? The reason is today everything runs on IT, be it a bank, be it a hospital, be it an airline, be it a hotel, everything runs on IT. Today, the world has come a long distance from the time when we started with mainframe computers to which were connected dumb terminals. Today, information systems are networked, and most organizations follow wide area network-based systems. So the result is when systems are interconnected, for example, if you want to book an air ticket, you can book it sitting at your desk and then navigate to your bank's internet banking portal and pay for your tickets. You can do it even for movie tickets. Now the result of all this is, while it's very convenient, it means there are many vulnerabilities introduced into systems. If you're able to book a movie ticket or an airline ticket or a train ticket through your bank account online, it means your bank has to open its systems or allow access to various other players, from airlines to IRCTC to Book My Show, all these. So this increases the threat. This is why now if there is a security breach, let's take one example. Take a look at where my laser pointer is. One sec, give me a moment. Laser pointer is. Can you see where my laser pointer is? Target. A few years ago, there was a major breach in Target. Target, if you recall, is one of the large retailers. I think is the second largest retailer in the United States after Walmart. There was a major breach a few years ago. They lost the customer records, including card details of 120 million customers, and they are still facing legal action. What happens when there is a major breach like this? The organization is proceeded against by regulators. It is sued by customers for damages. In the case of Target, the CEO lost his job, the CISO lost his job, and the company faced $1 million suits from regulators and from those whose card details had been compromised. There are various other things. WannaCry, if you recall, the UK's National Health Service was crippled by WannaCry. They could not carry out operations. Equifax lost the records of 145 million people. Deloitte, which is one of the big four accountancy firms, and which gives very expensive advice on security to major organizations, their own admin email account was hacked. They did not have two-factor authentication even for their admin email account. So there are various other things. Last year, there was an attack on, I think, Union Bank of India, on SWIFT. SWIFT, if you're not from the banking system, SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. This is how banks communicate financial information to each other. Suppose you have to transfer money somewhere, a bank will send a message through SWIFT. So Union Bank of India's SWIFT credentials were compromised, and $171 million was siphoned out of their accounts. Luckily, the bank and the RBI responded very quickly and they got the money back. In some cases, it doesn't come back. For example, a few years ago, there was a similar attack on Bangladesh's central bank. They couldn't recover the money. The money was layered, multiple levels it went through. So this is why security is such a major concern for all organizations. This is why organizations say we are not getting enough qualified information security professionals, and this is why CISSP is so valuable. Okay. Now, how will the CISSP certification add value? Unlike most of you who are from an IT background, I'm a banker. I worked in business lines in SBI for the initial half of my career. Later, when I had a chance posting as manager of the data processing cell, then I moved into IT. I got curious about this and I did all these qualifications, CISA, CISSP, etc. So if it can make such a big transformation in my career, imagine the transformation that it can bring about in the career of people like you who are in IT already. Okay, now I told you that the CISSP examination is split into 8 domains. These 8 domains, if you look at them, security and risk management, asset security, security architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, security assessment and testing, security operations, and software development security. Now, as you can see, these 8 domains encompass every aspect of IT. Is there any aspect of IT which is not covered in these 8 domains? I don't think so. Now remember that none of us has expertise in all the 8 domains. We may have expertise in 1 or 2 domains or 3 domains. We may have a very broad idea of the other domains, but we'll have to work hard to acquire at least a reasonable high degree level of knowledge of the other domains, or the concepts and principles involved in the other domains. Now, these domains do not carry equal weight. As you can see, the highest weight goes to the first domain, security and risk management, followed by networking, communication, network security, which has 14. Then comes security architecture and engineering and security operations, which are 13% each. Then you have 12% for security assessment and testing, and asset security and software development security have 10% weight. What this means is, when you go and answer the examination, 15% of the questions will come from the first domain, 10% of the questions will come from the second domain, and so on. Right? Is that clear? Any doubts so far? If you have any doubt, you can type or I can ask them to unmute you. Pinaki, is it clear? Any doubts so far? Okay, good. So Prasenjit, it looks like we have lost Prasenjit. Acha, whoever is here from Craftsky, can you try calling Prasenjit on the phone and ask him what problem he is facing? Okay. Okay, now that we have an idea. Sorry? Who is this? Okay. Okay, now let's come to the CISSP examination. Till, I mean, you know, the time when I wrote, it was a 6-hour exam. It is really, really taxing. It was a fixed length linear exam which ran on for 6 hours. Luckily, they changed it now. They have what is called, they use an algorithm. This is called computerized adaptive testing, or CAT. And by means of this, the maximum duration has been reduced to 3 hours instead of 6 hours. Now, what happens in this exam is the algorithm will begin by giving you a question which is very easy. It will be well below the passing standard. Based on your response, at each question when you respond, it will form a clearer picture of the candidate's capability. And the next question that it gives you will be something which it expects you have a 50% chance of getting right. Now, as soon as the algorithm determines with 95% confidence level that the candidate has the required ability to pass the exam, it will stop the exam. Now, the exam can last between 100 and 150 questions. It will not be less than 100 questions. So, you will be presented with a minimum of 100 questions and a maximum of 150 questions. Remember that 25 questions in every exam are unscored or pre-test items, which means, let's say you're a candidate and you go and answer, you're given 100 questions. You will be actually evaluated for only 75 questions. 25 questions are added only for research purposes. Now, what do we mean by research purposes? Before they include any questions in the question bank from which the algorithm will pick it up, ISC Square does a lot of due diligence. First of all, there are subject matter experts who examine the questions and see whether they are okay. In the sense, there should be no ambiguity. It should not be too difficult. It should not be too easy. It should be clearly explained. Now, these 25 questions are given to you just to assess whether they are suitable for inclusion in the data bank of questions. You will not be evaluated for them. But if on the basis of the responses that people give, they decide, okay, out of these 25 questions, let's say they find 10 questions are good enough to be included, then these 10 questions will be added to the question bank and they may be given to future candidates. But you yourself will not be evaluated for these research questions. Now, the trick is this. You will not know which are the questions being given for research purposes and which are the questions for which you will be evaluated. So you have to assume that you will be evaluated for every question and write that as well as you can. Right? Is it clear? Pinaki, is it clear? If so, please type yes. Okay. There is no negative marking in this exam. And see, in the earlier exam, before the CAT was introduced, if you're not sure about some question, you could mark it for review and come back and then review it later. but that is not available now because, as I told you, in CAT, it's only on the after receiving your answer to any question that the algorithm will determine which is the next question that it should serve to you, right? So there's no question of review here. Every question you have to answer, otherwise you say, I'm going to skip it. Okay. So as I said, computers adaptive testing is something which uses an algorithm, and it reduces the duration of the exam from 6 hours to 3 hours. I think this also I explained. You should expect to find each item challenging throughout the exam. So first, look at the second bullet point where my pointer is. You will first start with something that is well below the passing standard. Then depending on your response, the algorithm will determine which question it should serve to you, assuming that you'll have a 50% chance of getting it right, right? So what it means is with every question, as the exam progresses, with every question that you answer, the computer's estimate of your ability keeps becoming more precise till the point where it determines with 95% confidence that you either have the ability to pass the exam or you do not have the ability to pass the exam. At that point, it will stop the exam. Okay, now the scores that you get are called scaled scores. You have raw scores and scaled scores. Now, what happens here is every candidate will be given a different set of questions. For example, let's say both you and Pinaki and the other gentleman, both of you go and write the exam at the same place. Prasenjit is here. So let's say both Pinaki and Prasenjit go and write the exam at the same time in the same place, and you're sitting next to each other and answering the exams. But you will not be given the same question. The algorithm will keep picking up different questions. So now when you have such a scenario, it is possible that some candidates will get relatively easy questions, while some candidates will get relatively difficult questions. But you have to have some standardization of the difficulty level, correct? So which is why the raw scores are converted into scale scores, right? So in a scale score reporting, your raw score, which is the number of items you answered correctly, is converted to a number within a predefined score range. Now, in order to be successful, you have to have a scale score. Did you understand what is the raw score and what is the scale score? Guys, did you understand what's the raw score and what's the scale score? Pinaki and Prasenjit, if you understood, please type yes. Pinaki, nothing from you? Have you not? Pinaki. Prasenjit, okay, good. Okay, now the raw scores are converted to scale scores in a range of 0 to 1000. And to pass, you need to score at least 700 marks. On a scale from 0 to 1000, you should get a scale score of at least 700. So they say the conversion, see how exactly the raw scores are converted to scale scores is not something they tell us. What they do tell us is that it's as simple as converting temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And once it determines with 95% confidence that you have the ability to pass the exam, it will stop the exam. Okay. Okay, I think this we have already seen. It is a little, I mean, actually, if you want more information about this, you can go to this link, exam scoring FAQs. But I would advise you, don't worry too much about this. Your objective should be to get much more than 700. You concentrate only on getting the answers right. Look at the last bullet point. Scale scores are used to be able to directly compare scores from one exam to another, right? This is what I told you. Because it keeps picking up different questions. In some exams, you may get relatively easy, some you may get relatively difficult. So that's why they convert the raw scores into scale scores. Okay. Now, what about the question patterns? A little while later, we'll see some sample questions. The questions will be by and large MCQ, that is multiple choice questions. You'll be given some information or a scenario. On that, you'll be asked a question and you'll be given four options. You have to choose the best option in the given scenario. Please remember one thing. No option may be entirely correct or entirely wrong. In that given scenario, you have to choose the best option. Remember that, right? Is it clear? You may not get 100% correct or 100% wrong answer. Choose the best option in that given scenario. Some of the questions will be very straightforward. In fact, you may not even need 1 minute, 30 seconds to look through an answer. But some of them will be a little difficult. There will be a scenario, which will be quite long, a paragraph or so. After that, you may get 3 or 4 questions based on that scenario. In addition to MCQs, you'll also get a few of what are called advanced innovative questions. Now, these are usually to do with networking and things like that. For example, you'll be given a network diagram and you could be asked, where is the demilitarized zone? Or where will the firewall be put? You will have to click and drag it to the correct place to show that it should go here, right? Those are called advanced innovative questions. Yeah, remember what I told you, that the CISSP exam covers every domain of IT and none of us has expertise in all domains. So it's necessary to work hard to acquire some level of competence and understanding of the concepts involved in all the domains. One of the most popular books is by Sean Harris. It's called the CISSP All-in-One Guide. So in this, she says, the common body of knowledge is an inch deep and a mile wide. Remember, inch deep and a mile wide, meaning it covers everything, but it doesn't necessarily cover it in great depth. The reason is many of these concepts are the subject matter of certifications themselves. For example, business continuity planning. There are certifications in business continuity planning. There are certifications for information systems development. So that's why the idea here is, since none of us can have expertise or in-depth knowledge of every domain, you must have a high level understanding of the concepts or the principles in all the domains, so that if the occasion requires, let's say you have been in development all your life and you are asked to review a business continuity plan. If you know the concepts involved, like business impact analysis, RTO, RPO, then you will be able to drill down deeper and understand whether this business continuity plan is okay. This is why it covers all aspects of IT, but not necessarily in great depth. A mile wide, inch thick, remember that. Also, there are some other exam certifications like ITIL, all that, where people can just read a question dump that they get and go write it and pass it. This is not one of those exams because ISC Square has a huge question bank and they will come out with different types of questions. You must understand the concepts. If you understand the concepts, no matter what kind of question is asked in each domain, you will be able to answer it, or the questions may be twisted around. Okay, I think I forgot to tell you one thing in the previous slide. See, some of the questions will have qualifiers like not, least, best, most. See, for example, they will give you a scenario and then say which is not an appropriate response. Now, this qualifier turns the question around. In this exam, it is very important to read the question carefully. Many times, candidates know the answer, but because they have not read the qualifier, like lot, not, least, best, most, etc., they know the answer, but they have overlooked this and ticked the wrong one. So, reading the question carefully is very important. Luckily, in the exam, these qualifiers like not, these, best, etc., will always be like this in bold and in caps. Okay. Now look at the third bullet point where my pointer is. Superficial knowledge or a nodding acquaintance will not see you through. You must possess an understanding of the basic concepts. Now there are lots of books by highly qualified authors for CISSP. Later, I will tell you which are the more popular books. But what you need to remember is that no single book gives you in-depth coverage of all the topics, including the common body of knowledge brought out by ISC Squire itself. So you can use any good book as as your basic text, but if some concepts are not clear, then you may have to refer to sources on the internet. There are a lot of technical sites which will give you details. You can refer to them, or you can refer to another book. It's also necessary from the point of view of the exams to do a lot of tests, mock tests. Now, all these books like Sean Harris All in One, or there is one Cybex CSSP or guide. Now, all of them come with access to online question banks where they have simulated exams. You can customize it. You can take whichever domain you want. If you're now studying domain one, you choose only 10 or 20 questions from domain one. So this way you'll get accustomed to the pattern and the tricks involved, how questions can be twisted around. But one word of caution, on the internet, if you do a Google search, you'll find a lot of question dumps. Now, question dumps which come from some unknown people, please be a little wary. The reason is, remember I told you that any question goes through this research questions. Remember I told you 25 questions are research questions. Only if it is found suitable do they include it in the question bank, because the question has to be clear. There should be no confusion. The concept should be clear. Now, the people who prepare question dumps and put them on the internet or sell them on the internet, they don't necessarily spend a lot of effort. The result is many of those questions are not well drafted. I have seen some of them where I think the answer given is actually wrong. So at this stage when you are learning, a badly drafted question can confuse you. So stick to established things. By and large, the question banks which come with the books are of good quality. Use them. Okay. Okay, now in addition to knowing the subject matter, you need to have some test taking skills. First of all, you should have a basic understanding of the concepts involved in all the domains. Now you also need the test taking skills. What are the test taking skills you need? See, the maximum duration is 3 hours and the maximum number of questions you can get will be 150. That means you have just more than a minute or 72 seconds to be precise to answer every question on an average. Now, this does not mean that you have to answer the question at breakneck speed. Look at this, the first bullet point here, where my pointer is. Don't place speed before accuracy. Your answers have to be accurate. Initially, especially when you're doing the question banks, mock questions, your speed will be a little slower till you get accustomed to it. But as you get more proficiency, your speed will pick up, right? So remember, accuracy is important, but keep an eye on the clock also. Now, during this exam of 3 hours, you can take breaks if you want, but the clock does not stop running. That means if you take a bathroom break of 10 minutes, it means you're losing 10 minutes of exam time, right? Remember, imagine when we wrote it, it was 6 hours, and if you take a break, you're losing time. So you'll have to take a break. 3 hours, you probably can't sit without a break. So, but try to minimize your breaks because you're losing time. So you have to work quickly. You don't lose your focus. Don't let your mind wander. Minimize breaks. Read each question and the answer options carefully. If it's not clear, read it one more time. Sometimes, if the question is not clear to you, or you're not sure which option, you'll immediately see that some options are definitely wrong. Then eliminate the wrong options. Then it'll be much easier. Let's say you're able to eliminate 2 options which are obviously wrong. Then within the other 2, it may be much easier to select which is the more likely to be correct. So remember what I told you, qualifiers, double negatives, not, most, least, etc. Look out for those. And the most important thing is 1 or 2 days before the exam, get a good night's sleep. Don't go for the exam bleary-eyed. Even what you studied, you will not be able to remember. Okay, now these CISSP exams are exclusively conducted through Pearson VUE, which has centers in all major Indian cities. So you just have to go to their website, create an ID, then navigate through a very simple menu, and then choose the location, the venue, and the time slot available convenient to you, and pay the fee and book the slot and go write the exam. The fee, as you know, is quite stiff. It is $700, $699 to be precise. That means it is half a lakh rupees, which anywhere in the world is quite a lot of money. Even those who are in the United States and who earn a dollar income, $700 is a lot of money. So hard work is necessary so that you don't lose a lot of money. When you go to create your ID on Pearson VUE, they'll have a demo and a tutorial of the exam experience. Make sure you don't skip this, because when you're writing for the sitting for the exam, you don't want to waste your time trying to get familiar with the screen and where is this button, where is that button. So go through this tutorial before the exam so that you don't waste time on that in the exam. Okay, now in many of these examinations, the process of passing the exam and getting certified are two different steps, which means you first pass the exam, after that you can get certified. Now let's say you pass the exam. Now to get certified, you need to have 5 years of work experience in 2 or more, at least 2 of the 8 domains or the common body of knowledge for certification. Remember the 8 domains we saw earlier? Now, if you have worked in IT in any capacity, you definitely come under any one of the 8 domains. So anyone who has worked in IT, you will not have any issue meeting the certification requirement. Also, they are not very fussy or finicky about this. For example, when I appeared for the exam, I had been in the bank all along. So, like I was in business lines, but I still had no difficulty getting certified. The reason is, suppose I'm a branch manager. I am responsible of a bank, of a branch of a bank. I am responsible for the access management of all my staff. I am the one who decides how much, who is going to, I have to approve their access. I am responsible for business continuity planning for my branch, right? So it's not very, I mean, it's not as though they are going to nitpick over there. Now let's assume that in spite of all this, like for example, Pinaki, let's say he doesn't have 5 years of cumulative paid work experience in 2 or more of the 8 domains. There is no problem. If there is a shortfall of experience, you simply become, after you pass the exam, you become an associate of ISC Square, which is no different. An associate of ISC Square and a member of ISC Square are all the same, except that when you're an associate of ISC Square, now you'll be given 6 years time to get the 5 years of required work experience. So let's say you have absolutely no experience. You need 5 years of experience. Once you become an associate, they are giving you 6 years to get the 5 years of required experience. So getting this experience for certification is not a problem at all. Now, once you have passed and you apply for certification, you'll have to make an application to them, which is very simple. It will just say, ask you what are your roles in the for the last 5 years or so, and then what are your responsibility, and then to which domain it maps. Out of the 8 domains of ISC CISSP, they'll ask you to give the domain mapping. It's as simple as that. And an existing ISC CISSP should sign your endorsement forms. Now, I have signed the endorsement forms of many of the candidates whom I tutored and who passed. Now, assume that you are not able to get anyone, there is still no problem. ISC Square itself will endorse your form if you don't have anybody to sign, existing CISSP to sign your endorsement form. And once you pass the exam, your endorsement should be completed within 90 days of passing the exam. Please remember this, because your exam result between the exam result and certification, not more than 90 days should pass. Otherwise, your exam result may not be valid. So make sure that after all that hard work, immediately finish your certification and endorsement. Okay. This is a slide which I generally do not like to show. Assume for some reason you did not make it. It doesn't matter. You have to wait 30 days after first attempt, after second attempt, 60 days, 90 days, etc. So don't worry about all this. I mean, your objective should be to pass at the first time. See, look at the last bullet point. If you work hard and smart, there is no reason why you cannot clear the exam at the first attempt. Take my own example. I don't come from a technical background. I'm a banker, and I did not go for any coaching. I studied on my own, but I cleared all my certification attempts at first shot because I worked hard. One more thing you must remember. Whatever an instructor teaches you is only half of it. The other half is your own hard work, right? Without hard work on your part, don't expect success. It's like when you're in college, the teacher writes something on the board. Unless you make an attempt to internalize it, somehow magically that information will not pass from the board into your head, right? So hard work is necessary on the part of the candidates. Okay. Now, once you have passed it, certified all that, and you're a full-fledged CISSP or an associate, there's a concept called continuing professional education. Now, the reason why you need this is, in every area, especially in IT, there are frequent changes. Now, let's say I did my CISSP 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Now, if I don't make an attempt to stay in touch, within 5 years, I'll be outdated because so many new technologies are coming up. When I did my CISSP, only the first few things were being talked about: cloud security, about the cloud. Virtual systems were hardly talked about. So to make sure that you remain abreast, you have to post continuing professional education. The certification cycle for this is 3 years. Once you pass, they'll say you're valid. Let's say 2019 you pass. They'll give you a certificate saying you're certified from 2019 to 2020. Now, after that, every 3 years, you have to apply for recertification, which is automatic, so long as you meet your CPEs. So every year, you have to put 40 CPEs minimum. Over a period of 3 years, you have to have 120 CPEs. Now, what are the activities for which you can earn continuing professional education hours? It is huge, especially for people like you who are working. There is no issue at all. For example, when I'm teaching you, I claim that credit. The fact that I'm teaching you means I'm keeping in touch myself, so I can claim credit for CPE hours. Now, when you pass this and become members of ISC Squire, they conduct webinars. So very simple, and it will be very interesting, different topics. You listen to that. At the end of it, 2 or 3 questions, very simple questions. If you answer, you will get a CPA of 1 hour or 2 hours, depending on the duration. If there is a chapter in your city where you're staying and you go and attend the meetings, then you will get credit for that. If you're attending seminars, if you're attending certain courses, educational courses in your offices, you're probably attending vendor presentations. If they want to sell any product to you, they'll come and give you a presentation about their product. All this is counted under CPE. If you're writing, if you're preparing a presentation, if you're writing an article, if you're doing some research, if you're recording some talk, for example, if you go to YouTube, you'll find some talks which I have recorded or some slide presentations on information system security. So all that, for that also you can claim credit. If you volunteer service, if you are doing any unique projects which are outside your normal working hours, or normal working responsibilities. So believe me, CPE is not a problem at all. Almost everything, and you'll have no difficulty at all meeting the CPE hours for your certification.